representation of data abstracted from the banks of every computer in the human system. Unthinkable complexity, lines of light ranged in the non-space of the mind, clusters and constellations of data.
Science fiction writer William Gibson used the word cyberspace for the intense place where we're dodging demons in video games or exchanging masses of information electronically. But it could also be as simple as talking on the telephone. I'm David Suzuki for the Discovery Channel, and together with Time Magazine, we're going to take you on a journey into cyberspace. For most of us, it's a journey we've already started, but may not realize it. If you've ever used an automatic cash machine, scanned a carton of milk at the supermarket checkout, or just said, charge it, you've just entered a portion of cyberspace. But it's much more. It's a virtual palette of creativity, where musicians and audiences are redefining art.
You can get weather reports from anywhere on
and doctors practice surgical procedures on virtual patients. It's a collective intelligence.
Many storms going on.
It's even home to our best friend, a creation of the MIT Media Lab.
Good boy. Oh, yeah.
Its founder is Nicholas Negroponte.
You know, it's a 10.5 on the Richter scale of change. I mean, this is a big one. This is, in fact, bigger, in my opinion, than the invention of the printing press.
Cyberspace is a world founded on powerful computers conceived almost 50 years ago. It was in the 1950s, during the darkest days of the Cold War. Americans built fallout shelters to protect themselves from Soviet missiles.
One of the great scientific feats of the age.
The arms race was on. The Pentagon poured funds into university computer research. For many people in the 60s, computers represented cold, impersonal control over their lives. Like the frightening computer HAL in 2001, A Space Odyssey.
I read you.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Counterculture figure Stuart Brand was one of the first to discover that his generation was also programming the university's computers.
You have a real intersection of counterculture people with counterculture attitudes and engineering people with engineering attitudes and engineering humor. And the hackers are really the combination of those two. So you have a looseness in sort of personal lifestyle, a public spiritedness in relation to the world, and yet a real engineering rigor. And that combination turned out to be unbeatable.
The young hackers were creators. They invented the first personal computer, virtual reality, computer games, the first word processor. At the same time, military planners were designing the first computer network. They made it decentralized to survive a nuclear attack. It was the perfect playing field for the open and free spirit of the young hackers.
The idea that this military command grid built to survive the nuclear holocaust, that it somehow got appropriated by all these ex-hippies, smoking dope and getting high on technology. It's one of the most bizarre marriages in recent history.
In the beginning, researchers dominated cyberspace, and they're still its cornerstone. But scientists have gone beyond the simple exchange of ideas. In 1994, they created the first virtual human in cyberspace. This is a story about a man, a convicted murderer, who was executed and then brought back to life on the internet. In cyberspace, he is known as the Visible Man. In life, he was 39-year-old Joseph Paul Jernigan, a fitness freak in prison who willed his body to science. Jernigan, now dubbed Adam by scientists, was sliced into more than 1,800 pieces, each photographed with a digital camera that can record directly into the computer, and made available on the internet for a variety of uses.
The muscles, the fat, the organs are extremely well developed. Everything is very distinct and very easy to see.
Jernigan was exactly the kind of specimen Dr. Michael Ackerman, who heads this project for the National Library of Medicine, was hoping for.
Well, we're looking for somebody who essentially doesn't look like they died. So they can't have any debilitating diseases, no cancers, no history of operations. The person that we ended up with was executed by lethal injection, which meant that the person literally looks as if they died for no reason.
Jernigan's body was shipped to the University of Colorado's Health Sciences Center, placed in a mold, surrounded with gelatin and frozen to 50 to 60 degrees below zero. The corpse was then cut into 4 lateral parts, each block carefully sliced with a mill saw normally used for planing steel.
We're at the level of the kidneys and the large intestines, some small intestines still.
Martha Pelster is working on the next human to travel into cyberspace, the Visible Woman, or Eve. She was a 59-year-old who died of a heart attack. To ensure pictures of even greater detail than that of the Visible Man, her body is being sliced over 6,000 times.
As you can see, it's pretty frosty right now. We spray it with a layer of alcohol to sort of get a nice shine on the whole specimen to get rid of that frost. We put this black frame over the dry ice, and then we're ready to take a picture.
On the shoulders, looking out at the lungs. Here's the heart right here.
Dr. Victor Spitzer is using the Visible Man in his anatomy class at the University of Colorado. He helped pioneer techniques for this project and thinks it will evolve into something even more useful.
It'll change the way I believe that we learn medicine. Here we can slice, recut, extract, dissect, if you will, someday, and take them all apart. But the important thing is you can put them back together again. We can grow diseases in him. We can give him hepatitis and let his liver progress all the way to an end-stage disease. And we can make him anything you want. He's 39 years old. We'd like to be able to age him. Let's make him a 59-year-old. Let's make him a fat 59-year-old. Or a 20-year-old. A very, very thin 20-year-old.
That's not the way we do most mechanical things today.
With the development of new software just months away, Spitzer believes the Visible Man will help make better doctors. Just as commercial pilots learn to fly without actually flying a plane, soon doctors will be able to do their surgical training without actually cutting a patient, says computer scientist Carl Reining.
I can track this pseudo-scalpel, and I can move this around and take cuts out of this data just like it was a real leg. Say we were trying to simulate taking out the gallbladder, we would show the interior, and as the surgeon's working on it, we could say, I think the blood pressure just dropped down. And that rings a bell to him, and he says, oh, I need to be doing something. Maybe I clipped a vein or an artery or something, and I need to be looking for that.
What we're going to look at today are images from the thorax area. We're going to download a series of images.
Some of our future doctors are taking this high school anatomy class in Greenfield, Indiana.
And this is where they actually did the slicing.
Like many high school and college teachers, John Rim recently got part of the Visible Man from the internet. For most institutions, it's not practical to download the whole body, since it takes days and an extraordinary amount of computer storage space.
Some of the clarity that was there, what you might...
You recognize the nose, and these big blue areas are open places, and those are the nasal sinuses, the things that give everybody sinus headaches.
This knee and the rest of the Visible Man can be downloaded for free. But the National Library of Medicine determines when it sends Adam over the internet and to whom. They want it used in an appropriate way, which is why the staff carefully reviewed one request from the entertainment industry.
You remember the movie Fantastic Voyage? They're proposing Fantastic Voyage, the game. There's enough information in the database that one could actually use the data set to put together what it would look like to travel down an artery or a vein.
Hollywood wants to use Adam and Eve for special effects, and scientists have decided this partnership could be beneficial.
Hollywood will make this man get up and move and bleed, I think, very soon. And he'll bleed probably something terrible. But those will create tools that will allow us to make him move correctly and to bleed correctly. And that's all important.
And it is through cyberspace that the visible man has gained immortality and is helping doctors and scientists around the world.
Because you can get weather reports from anywhere on the globe. Find out where the big supertankers are. Or whether there are any storms going on at the North Pole.
Laurie Anderson is a pioneer on the internet.
You can spin the world
Entertainer, artist,
and get off
poet.
anywhere.
She shares the view of cyberspace as a virtual Wild West.
I see everybody as a pioneer out there. I think that it's one of the few places where you really can create your own images and links. So I think everybody out there has that sensation of being explorers in a way.
Top of the morning. Top of the morning.
This is Machine Screw, one of the many net explorers. The New Orleans techno rock band prides itself on not having an expensive record deal or touring budget. Instead, they have a Mac computer, a modem, and high-speed phone line. Last year, the band made music history by being the first to broadcast an entire live concert on the internet. Today, they're at Café Brazil in the French Quarter to rock online once again. Aubrey Macaulay runs the Eden Matrix, an alternative art service on the internet. Thanks to a unique software program called See You, See Me, he devised a way to broadcast Machine Screw's concert to netters around the world.
Essentially what we're doing is picking up a live video feed from our cameras here and bringing it in through a video digitizer on the Macintosh and transmitting that over a high-speed digital connection to the internet.
It's not a one-way street. The See You, See Me software allows an online audience to transmit pictures and comments back to the band. Virtual concerts and online services like the Eden Matrix are paving the way for a new brand of self-publishing, one that's more accessible, more democratic, and less expensive. While Macaulay does charge for some services, performers pay nothing to post their tour dates and videos on the Eden Matrix, and fans can download concerts for free. Bands log on as far away as Finland and Japan. The band's audience has expanded greatly after every online show.
MTV created a phenomenal transition for the artist and how their art would be presented. A transition synonymous with that transition is taking place at this very time right here, and how entertainment is coming to America. It's not canned and it's not force-fed, it's by choice.
But as with any new technology, there are always rough spots.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you. It's real crunchy.
So as showtime nears, the tension mounts at Café Brazil.
Good evening, everybody. It's gonna be a party.
The concert's just started.
A few hundred miles away, in Austin, Texas, 46-year-old Dave Trissel is having his own party. He and his guests are getting ready to groove with Machine Screw via his Macintosh.
Last March, I brought myself a Power Mac, and I happen to have a video camera like many Americans do. And to my amazement, I downloaded a program called See You, See Me from Cornell University, and all of a sudden I find myself being a TV studio broadcasting on the net, on the internet. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Dave has hooked up his video camera to transmit pictures back to the club. His computer is one of over 250 logged onto the show.
All right, we're receiving video from Colombia.
He is joined by viewers all over the world. Even NASA and the World Bank are logged on.
They'll be happier now. We have 4 people watching us.
The house is rocking. Well, sort of.
I don't know why there's sound cutting out now. Okay, the camera on the telephone here, on the video phone, is right
Dave
here.
is also having problems sending video of his party back to the club. After fiddling for an hour, he succeeds, and his party is seen around the world.
Yeah, we've got a real good connection now.
It's not like being first row center.
We've been on.
But in Austin, the night is considered a hit, despite the technical difficulties.
I find it very interesting just to see a band that you never, seen before, and it's happening somewhere completely else. And, they're not well enough known to be actually being broadcasted on TV, but it's good for them, and it's, interesting for the viewer.
Then hold on the option, ship 3 times, //.com, blue sky.
Laurie Anderson is giving new meaning to the developing language of cyberspace.
Stand by.
But Anderson's journey into the virtual world isn't limited to her performance. She has constructed her own homepage on the internet.
You run online now?
And after her shows, she's found a new way to meet fans.
There is an underground in this country, and I think that you used to find it in alternative art places scattered around the country, but these have pretty much collapsed because of funding. So I think now you can find these people. A lot of them are on the net.
At New York School of Visual Arts, students log on to talk with Anderson after her concert. But even simple chats can have their share of problems. Anderson was logged on as herself in lowercase letters, but the netters in New York weren't convinced it was actually her.
There's several people logged on as Laurie Anderson right now, and there's St. Lawrence and his son, and Laurie Android's son, and Lara and her sin. So it can cause for some confusion.
Also very frightening. This is kind of chaotic.
Such confusion, says Anderson, is part of the Internet's appeal. So is the freedom users have to recreate art. Because in cyberspace, a song, a painting, a story truly become the property of the masses.
You really have to be ready for, ready to give a lot of freedom to other people.
One world.
And so I think if you're the kind of artist who is bothered by the fact that people might change your work, the net is not a place to be.
One unresolved problem. Who owns the images, ideas, and information flowing through cyberspace? The speed of the technological changes has raced far ahead of conventional law. Compounding the problem is the global nature of cyberspace, where no one country has the power to impose its will. Made up of networks, some small, some large, computers linked together by telephone lines. There were only 200 networks in the early 80s. There are 4 million today. And by the end of this century, these networks may link 1 billion people. It's a staggering amount of information, but help is on the way. One day, a cyber offspring of this computer-generated dog Silas may be able to guide us.
You gonna beg for me? Like that?
To date, Silas has been programmed to recognize hand signals.
So I throw the ball, he'll fetch it.
And react on the basis of his own internal motivation in typical dog behavior.
That wasn't so hard, was it?
The virtual dog Silas should be right at home in Jaron Lanier's virtual reality. Lanier designs computer-generated environments and objects, in this case, creating musical instruments that he can play.
I can pick up an object
object that looks a little bit like a gyroscope, and by spinning it in different ways, I can have it weave musical textures. It's a wonderful way of playing music that has a full reality as an alternate world, like a dream does. I think a lot of the people who use the network in the future, the internet and so forth, will want to use virtual reality as their way to get into it.
Just off Harvard Square in Cambridge, Massachusetts, Cyberspace is making the internet accessible in a different way. Along with your cappuccino and sandwich, computers hooked up to cyberspace.
You can search for more than one subject at a time.
The notion of a fully connected global system is one that defies all the previous centralist views of the world. There's no president, there's no organization, you want to send a check. I mean, somebody said to me one day, I just read about the internet, I called my broker and said, buy shares in internet. You can't.
The important part about the internet is that nobody's in charge. There's no center. It's all distributed. And not only that, it's designed to find its way around problems like nuclear blasts that blow away a whole city.
There's something exciting happening here, and it's nice to have something to be excited about for a change. I mean, politics is so disappointing, and the world is becoming overpopulated, and the environment is going down the tubes, that something comes along that seems to be empowering. So I'm not surprised that people are excited about it. And you get a bunch of people who feel like they're on the ground floor or something, and it's like they're high on caffeine and they're having a great time.
The freedom and openness of cyberspace is part of its appeal, part of what makes it an exciting frontier for electronic pioneers, like the Wild West of a century ago. Cyberspace has its cowboys too, the hackers. Skilled at computer programming, most use their talent to break new trails, but a few become outlaws. This young man is doing what an estimated 20 million people do every day, surfing the net. From his room, he can explore the world. With the same equipment, but with a different purpose, he could read your credit records, tap into your telephone calls, even monitor your video rentals. All that information is stored on a computer, and if it's connected to the internet, it's at the mercy of unscrupulous hackers. Federal authorities say hacker Kevin Mitnick used his computer to commit electronic burglary on a grand scale. To obtain secret files, 20,000 credit card numbers, email, and free cellular phone services. If convicted, Kevin Mitnick could spend 35 years in prison. Among Kevin Mitnick's alleged victims, New York Times reporter John Markoff, who says Mitnick read his email.
My electronic mail is as important to me as my bank account. It's not okay for anybody to read my electronic mail.
Given to the hysteria that surrounds Kevin Mitnick.
On the other hand, Kevin Mitnick is a hero to some people on this New York radio program devoted to hackers.
The 20,000 credit card numbers, again, a file that was available for months and months and months. Kevin did not take that file. There was no criminal intent of the sort where you make any kind of money or benefit in any way.
If you have a lot of power and you can read people's mail and you can travel to computers in Singapore and you can eavesdrop, I mean, that's pretty amazing stuff. And you feel like nobody can track you and you're safe. I could see how somebody could be caught up with the romance of that.
Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Kent Walker worked on the Mitnick case.
Computer hacking is a very serious crime. In the last year alone, the FBI and the Secret Service logged over 2,500 complaints of break-ins and attempted break-ins into computers and computer networks.
Today on online services, you can sell stolen property. You can give away or sell copyrighted software. You can engage in fraudulent activities, including credit card fraud.
Hackers commit a wide variety of offenses. Hackers have tried to steal government information, to destroy people's credit histories, and to steal millions of dollars of computer software.
These are high-speed modems to allow
Mike Park is the system administrator of QuakeNet, an internet access provider. He says the electronic passwords used to protect computer files can't keep hackers out.
You can run this program, and it uses dictionaries, it uses special characters, it uses all the characters in Tolkien, Star Trek themes, Star Trek names, whatever. I did it, and within 1 hour, I came up with about 10 passwords. I left it running for a week, and it cracked 30 passwords.
These code-breaking programs are freely available on the internet. Anyone adept at finding obscure files can download many of the electronic tools needed to break in.
Virtually every company of any size has gotten itself some kind of internet presence. Well, most of these companies are going in there wide-eyed without any sense that this is an open place, that there is no security here. The internet, after all, was designed to be open.
It's amazing how much information is available about you through accessible databases, legally or illegally. I can have an incredible amount of information about you in a matter of minutes.
What is this one now? This is a US Robotics 28.8 send-receive fax modem.
Almost every computer sold now has a modem, usually a very sophisticated one. Anyone who wants to can hook up. All you need is a telephone line. Many institutions, knowing the risks, put their computers behind electronic fortresses. But once connected to the internet, their files are vulnerable.
The moment you link computers on networks, they become an interesting terrain for someone to play in. And it is possible for a large number of people to play inside the phone systems and turn your telephone in your home into a payphone, for example. So when you lift the receiver, you're asked to deposit 25 cents.
One company's voicemail system was seized by a cyber extortionist operating from a foreign country.
And the individual told them, because they had shut him off, had told him, you need to give us 10 mailboxes as such in that system and access to the computer system again, or I will shut your system off. And to prove that he had the ability to do so, he shut the phones off for 2 minutes.
Encryption, sophisticated codes based on hardware and software, can make electronic communication secure, but they are still cumbersome to use.
We've generated 10 million kids who are so good at Nintendo that taking on this worldwide net as a new area for exploration is going to be the biggest game going.
Better, good old wholesome teenage American boys are finding these loopholes than hostile foreign governments.
If you're lucky, all they do is tiptoe around and take a look-see. If you're unlucky, they attempt to seize control of your system, to take the items from you, or to hold your system hostage.
Complete security is to switch your machines off and put them in a vault and never touch them again.
The FBI pursued Mitnick for 2.5 years without success. It took a theoretical physicist turned cyber sleuth named Tsutomu Shimomura to track him down.
What the whole Mitnick affair should hammer home is we have to be aware of the security risks. This was like a warning shot that was fired over our heads.
Hills of Southwest Virginia, Cyberspace has arrived at this 85-year-old farmhouse. Inside, Jenny Moore takes a stroll down Main Street and beyond. The mother of 4 emails neighbors, checks out store sales, even stays in touch with fellow goat breeders around the world.
It's enabled me to be a lot more efficient, enhanced the other things that I do. Being an at-home mom, a lot of times you aren't connected to anyone except the little ones. It's nice to be able to be connected with the outside world and not have to be a computer junkie to do it.
Jenny's passport to cyberspace comes courtesy of a bold experiment that's turned her real community into a virtual one, the Blacksburg Electronic Village. Blacksburg is the home of Virginia Tech. Most of its 36,000 residents are associated with the university, which has had internet access for years. Wiring the rest of the town was an easy next step. In 1993, Virginia Tech teamed with the local phone provider to bring the town's 30-year-old switch station into the digital future. Now, for a small monthly fee, every home equipped with a computer and a modem can link to a virtual version of the town and the internet. With a click of a mouse, Blacksburg's netizens can browse at the virtual storefronts of dozens of businesses, including Wade's Grocery. They can view the latest exhibit at a local art gallery, and they can find out how to join civic groups and clubs, among them Blacksburg's amateur rugby team. Town Hall has also gone digital.
Just about anything about how to obtain a dog license, how to sign up for water service, what to do if your sewer clogs, things that you would normally come into a town hall and receive are available online.
Creating virtual Blacksburg was relatively easy. Convincing residents to become cyber citizens was another matter.
The field of dreams model does not work. If you build it, they will not come. The technology is relatively simple. The software is relatively simple. What's been difficult is teaching people why it's important to them in their own lives to be connected. And that's a much tougher job.
And that's a double click.
An evangelist of Blacksburg's electronic experiment is Courtney Bargo, a graduate student who works part-time as the network's information manager.
Blacksburg Electronic Village a year and a half ago really was essentially just a shell. The network infrastructure was pretty much in place. The services were there, but people weren't making very much use of them yet. So that really gave us the push to start working on the information that was online and helping people understand how they could use this technology for themselves. Yep, there you go. Now we're in business.
Thank you.
Okay, log in, my dear. For the Hassel family, going online is almost a nightly ritual.
Bring up my mail card.
Jim, a local computer company executive, has been navigating the streets of virtual Blacksburg since its beginning. Now his daughter Annie often ties up the computer chatting online with friends from Blacksburg High.
Can you check my mail?
Oh, sure.
And next door in the basement of his home, Jim's 80-year-old father is just as attached to the net as he is to his weekly bridge game. Walter Hoberton is using the internet to trace his family's history.
When I retired, I never thought that I would be in anything like this, but I am glad I am, because it's not only been fun, it's broadened my outlook on life.
People want communities, people want a home on the internet. They want a place they can sort of call their own.
Their communities going it alone, in some cases, one citizen at a time.
And we're getting on the White House bulletin board. You are caller number 17,633. Yes.
Stafford Battle and Ray Harris, part of a group called Black Pioneers of the Net, were upset when they read a newspaper article referring to African Americans as roadkill on the information superhighway.
And by being roadkill, it just brought up this image of some poor squirrel that wasn't smart enough to cross the road. Even in the mainstream of America, there are still a large number of people, a huge percentage, who don't understand what this information superhighway is all about. And to single out African Americans to imply that we lack the technological skills to navigate on the information superhighway, I found offensive.
In response, the two friends wrote the African American Resource Guide to the Internet.
In the majority society, they talk about in internet parlance that you surf the net, surfing the internet. Well, it's supposedly a well-known fact that black people don't surf, so we cruise the internet.
When you're cruising the internet, Battle and Harris hope you'll click on their home page called New Elam City. It's also the gateway to the African American cyber city they're creating.
Okay.
The online entrepreneurs are going out into the African American community, encouraging small businesses to set up shop in their digitized city.
We've got a way to increase your business. So what we like to do is come by one day when you're less busy, digitize your food. That means you take a picture of it. A nice, pretty, full-color picture of your best dish. Bring in a laptop and show you what your restaurant could look like on the internet.
Okay.
Well, this piece is called Kiss the Sky. It's a romantic salute to Harriet Tubman.
Michael Brown's paintings sell for thousands of dollars, but he's not widely known. Going online could change that.
As artists, as you as the artist now can have an audience that literally just spans the entire planet.
It sounds very interesting. My concern, obviously, is around the protection of the image. You know, I've heard of computer hackers breaking into major institutions. So that is an honest concern of mine.
Some of your
Battle and Harris understand the concerns, but think they're outweighed by the benefits. As a young boy, Stafford Battle saw his inner-city neighborhood devastated by riots. He believes today's black power and greater equality will come with megabytes and modems.
We want to encourage people to get on the internet and take away some of that technophobia. That's a white man's machine. Watch out, Ray. They got some more change for us.
Every day, this Washington Community Center, known as Martha's Table, prepares and distributes hundreds of meals to the hungry and homeless.
Right there.
Upstairs, neighborhood children spend hours on computers.
Okay. All right, now press next. There you go. Good job.
Mary Wolf runs the computer center, outfitted with more than a dozen donated computers and a wide assortment of software. 120 kids come every day.
Just around here, a couple of the streets are probably the toughest streets in Washington. And, I can't believe the kind of choices that they have to make. I mean, every day they're really faced with drugs and guns and violence and rats, and it's unbelievable what they live in. The computers alone are putting them that much ahead of what's out there. We're going to go online hopefully this summer, and I can't wait for the kids who live on 14th Street to be able to talk to kids in China or Russia. Have you been before?
I think that the internet will bring the races and the different economic and the different age groups closer together than ever before. Because for once in the first time in history, we'll be able to connect without having to worry about, oh, she's too tall, or he's too dark, or she's too fat. Because we'll be communicating our ideas, and we'll find that we have a lot more in common than apart. And that's going to be a real beauty of it. Looking forward to that. Let's cruise it. See what we can find.
Steve 212, also known as Barbara K. Roberts, a former private eye turned professional matchmaker. Lusty keeps a database of over 1,800 names of cyber singles looking for a romantic connection.
I think there's a big advantage to meeting someone online first instead of real life. A lot of them can't make it in the social scene. They're not the type of people to go to bars because they're really not outgoing and aggressive enough. When somebody is online, they can be whoever they want to be, and they're very, very comfortable. They have no problem chatting whatsoever.
In fact, chatting has become the lifeblood of commercial online services. Their subscribers can create and enter virtual get-togethers. Lusty created one called the Manhattan Room. It gives her singles a gathering place to chit and chat, even hug and kiss. One of Lusty's chattier singles is Marcy Selsberg, or Peekaboo New York as she's known online. Marcy runs her own television production company. She doesn't have a lot of time to go out in New York City, so she's a frequent visitor to the Manhattan Room.
It's an easier way to meet people. I'm not into the bar scene. I've been in one long relationship after the other since I was young, and this is the first time I've been on the dating scene for a long time, and I just feel like this is a better way to get to know somebody.
You can also find shy, aspiring actor Eric Lieb in the Manhattan Room. He's known as Lieb NYC.
Online, when I talk to someone, I can compose my thoughts a little bit before I write them down. I don't have to worry about coming up with something spontaneously. That helps because I can come across as sounding a little more eloquent than I would if I was in a bar saying, da, 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 hi, how are you,
Both Eric and Marcy and many of their counterparts online feel more comfortable and secure meeting through the filter of the computer screen.
Giving me a little more confidence because I know I'm intelligent and I can sit here and write and type a lot better sometimes than I speak, as you can probably tell. And it's less nerve-wracking.
You don't have that face-to-face thing where you have that immediate rejection or acceptance from someone.
This way, you get to know somebody first, and then if it works out and you like what they're talking about, you get together, and they got to know you first before they decided, yuck, so, or yay.
Sometimes the online interaction can get pretty steamy. Cyber chatting often leads to cyber sex or hot chat.
Hot chat, there's a lot of hot chat that goes on here. There's a little too much hot chat.
For most people, what they want from someone online is the same as what they want in real life, good relationships. So, after developing a cyber connection, many want to make the big jump to a face-to-face meeting. Lusty helps here too. She makes money hosting a series of real-life singles parties where the people behind the screen personas can show off their real personalities.
People online have no problem talking or meeting each other. I try and help them get from that point to real life.
Tonight, Peekaboo New York and Lieb NYC are stepping out. They're going to one of Lusty's parties, but they're keeping their expectations low, hoping just to meet some new friends.
I think people are searching for someone to meet, searching perhaps for romance. They might just be looking to have a good time.
No, I'm not going to look for Mr. Right. If I meet somebody there, that's fine, but I don't really have any expectations. If he's there, he's there.
Lusty, however, has higher hopes.
A success story would be a male and female member meeting at the party for the first time, realizing how much they have in common, falling in love, getting married, and living happily ever after.
It's party time in a real Manhattan room at the East River Cafe. Here, out in the real world, the conversation turns, not surprisingly, back to the cyber world.
What's your shirt for what? They gave me like a 2-day crash course. Kind of like, this is how you save the world. This is how you make corrections. This is how you print. When I'm online, I'm a different person. I'm very aggressive.
Are you a woman?
No. I said I'm a...
Many of the partygoers are content to just get back to their online relationships. With a face now attached to the screen names of their friends. But others are searching for something more.
I'm actually searching for my partner. I'm looking for my soulmate.
I've dated about 10 women so far.
Oh, I'm on a mission. I'm searching for someone that wants a girlfriend.
Some of Lusty's luckier singles have found what they're searching for. Quote, happily ever after.
We're getting married in November.
Online or for real?
For real.
For real.
We've been married online since last August.
And how did it work for Marcy and Eric?
It worked out fine. You know, it lived up to my expectations.
Yeah, I think I'm happy. I never meet somebody before. I met some new friends over online.
Get online.
Brain in its capacity to wonder, imagine, and invent. And it has created an astonishing extension of itself that blurs the lines between the finite real world and an infinite cyber world. Whether we like them or not, feel at home or like alien creatures with them, computers are an indispensable part of our lives. But as with any new technology, it's up to us to make sure we are its master and not its servant. In the new world they help to create. For the Discovery Channel and Time Magazine, I'm David Suzuki.